In this video, we're going to subtract fractions with different signs, meaning positive and negative values. They're going to have the same denominator, which makes it a little bit easier. Let's practice. All right, we have 5/8 take away 3/8. You'll notice that it's got the same denominator, which is an 8. Very simply, we just put that down. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. But that can be reduced. So 1/4. Now here we have 5/9 minus a negative, and when you subtract a negative, remember from your signed numbers, your integers, you add the opposite. Keep the denominator the same, and 5 plus 7 is 12. Now that can be reduced. 3 goes into the numerator and the denominator. So the answer to that fraction, that difference, is going to be 4/3. And here we're going to add the opposite. So what we have, 7 is the denominator, a -5 and a -3, and that's -10. Add the opposite. Keep the denominator the same. So we have -5 plus 1, which is -4/6, which is -2/3. Now here we don't have the same denominator, but we can make it so we have the same denominator. Remember in the video in equivalent fractions, if you have 7/1, that's the same thing as 35, because I'm going to multiply this fraction by 5/5. And 7 times 5 is 35. So I really have changed 4 1/5 to an improper fraction, as we've been doing. So we have 21/5 minus 35/5, and that's going to equal -14/5. If you recall from basic math class, you used to put one fraction over the other. Well, let's see what happens when I do that. I have to put the -7 on top because the absolute value of -7 is greater than the absolute value of 4 1/5. So this is going to be a plus 4 1/5. And you can't take 1/5 from nothing, so you have to borrow, and you borrow 1, and you call it 5/5. And 5/5 minus 1/5 is 4/5, and 6 minus 4 is 2. And you turn that into an improper fraction. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14, and you get 14/5. Don't forget that the larger absolute value is negative, so your answer is negative. And this one is actually the same idea if we did it out the long way, and I'll show you that in a minute, but you'll really get to appreciate turning these into improper fractions, especially when you have signed numbers. 4 times 1 is 4, and 3 is 7/4, minus 8 plus 1 is 9/4, and that's going to equal -2/4, which is -1/2. And the way that you learn back in basic math would be to put the larger number on top, and of course we have a -1, so we have to put it on top. The absolute value is larger, and we're going to add to that 1 3/4. Now you can't take 3/4 from 1/4, so you have to borrow. But what you're borrowing is a whole, and that whole you can write as 4/4. So 4/4 plus 1/4 is 5/4, and 5 take away 3 is 2/4, and of course it's negative, so it's -1/4, which turns out to equal -1/2. So you can see how doing it this way, right here, is much easier. All right, here's some problems for you to practice, and put it on pause, copy them down, and when you're done, turn it back on and see the next slide. This has all the solution to it. So, let's see how you did. 12 is a denominator, keep it. 1 minus 5 is -4, so you have -1/3. When you subtract, you add the opposite. So we have 3 plus 4/7. 7/7 is 1. Here we have a negative and a negative, and that's going to equal -10/8, and that can be reduced to -5/4. Add the opposite, so we have -4 plus 1/5, -3/5. Turn this into, and change the -5, into a fraction that has 9 in the denominator right here. And it's going to be 5/1, I'll do it over here, 5/1 times, we want a denominator of 9, so we're going to get 45. That's what I have right here, 45. So 23, take away 45 is negative 22. And for this one here, we have 3 1/6, and turn that into 19/6, and 1 5/6 is 11/6, and 19 take away 11 is 6. 8 over 6 is 4/3. And if you want to go back to the old way that you did it, let me just show you, because this one does have a 3, which is larger than the 1. So we're going to make this, let's see, all right, try that again. So we're going to have 3 1/6 minus 1 5/6. You can't take 5/6 from 1/6, so you borrow. So we're going to take the 1, which is from the 3, and I'm going to call that 6 over 6 plus the 1 over 6 that I already had, and that becomes 7. So 7 minus 5 is 2/6. And 1 2/6 is the same thing as 1 1/3, which is 4/3. Same answer. All right, how'd you do? This workforce product was funded by a grant awarded by the United States Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration. The product was created by the grantee and does not necessarily reflect the official position of the U.S. Department of Labor. The Department of Labor makes no guarantees, warranties, or assurances of any kind, express or implied, with respect to such information, including any information on linked sites, and including but not limited to accuracy of the information or its completeness, timeliness, usefulness, adequacy, continued availability, or ownership.